Welcome, horror fans, and thank you for downloading The Horror Show. Sit back while your hosts Sean and Joe take you back in time to review your favorite and not-so-favorite horror movies from yesteryear. With their own twisted comedic view, your host will remind you why you loved or hated those classic horror movies and other horror-related events. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to The Horror Show.
The show that dissects, mutilates, dismembers, and butchers all of your favorite and not so favorite horror movies and other horror related events. I'm Sean.
I'm Joe.
This week, we are starting off a 3-part series talking about anthologies.
Yes.
I was not ready to do this. I forgot that we don't record it and stop. I'm so not ready. Okay. So this week we're doing... I'm probably just going to leave that in. So this week we're doing anthologies. That weird buildup I just did, like we were going to cut to something.
But we're not.
Yeah, welcome to the show. We're doing a 3-part series on anthologies. I think an anthology is my favorite type of horror movie.
Oh, I mean, they're so fucking good.
You just get a little taste of everything. It can't really drag, because before it can even... Well...
I'm sure we can find one that does.
I'm sure there's plenty. I'm sure.
But if they're done right, they're phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they really are. I like the breakup. Especially when you get to these 2-hour horror movies, sometimes they're just... 2 hours is rough. Creep Show, which we'll talk about next week, is 2 hours, and I was like, ugh. But when it breaks up like that, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, because you're just basically watching 5 short movies.
It's fantastic. So we kind of took Joe's favorite and my favorite, but they're really both our most favorites.
Yeah.
Of an anthology. We're going to talk about those the next 2 weeks, and then we're going to the third week. We're going to talk about we're going to make it like our top 5, because these are definitely our top 1 and 2.
Yeah. In
almost any order. We should probably discuss that on the third episode. And then we're going to talk about 3 more.
Yep.
That we will keep a surprise. But these first 2, this week it's going to be Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat. And next week will be Joe's pick, which was Creep Show. And I had a hard time making my pick.
He really did.
I changed
down to the fucking wire.
Changed it 3 times. I won't tell you the other, because they are the other 3 we're doing.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool that we're in agreement on basically all of those.
Yeah. It was not pretty cool that Sean would text me and be like, I'm changing my mind last second, right as I'm starting the movie to rewatch it.
You were like minutes in.
Yeah.
But Trick or Treat was just so good, and I had been thinking about it the entire time. And there's just this feeling that you get as a horror fan where you feel stupid for picking a new movie.
That's a great way to put it, because I was thinking the same thing. Like, I almost didn't want to pick it because it was newer.
Yeah.
But there's something about this movie that's just like perfect to me.
There's a real sense, I feel like, of judging when you say a movie's good. Like, I remember when I watched the new Evil Dead, when we actually started this podcast, I wanted to like praise it online. I wanted to be like, everyone watches. But I knew I would get somebody that's like, have you seen the original? Yeah, asshole, I have. That doesn't mean this movie's not good.
It's that hipster mindset that we're in, where
It
like
is.
you
It's
have
gotta be
to
old.
everything that's old that you were raised
Right.
on like has to be better.
Yeah.
But this movie is just that good that it transcends all that.
Yeah, and I actually kind of got over it recently. The last 2 days I watched Eyes Without a Face. This is so off topic, but I watched Eyes Without a Face,
The 50s movie?
1960.
Oh, fucking phenomenal.
So
Dude,
good.
the face removing scene?
All-time
So good.
all-time favorite. Honestly, I use like a rating website, and it's the first movie I put on for 5 stars. I'm starting fresh, so this is just since January, and I'm rewatching everything.
Yeah.
5 stars for that. I loved it. I
Fantastic.
couldn't believe it though, because you have that judgmental mindset sometimes of those older movies. And then I was like, I'm going to watch House on Haunted Hill.
The original?
Yes. It's not bad, but it's not good. You know what I mean? I respect that movie a lot.
What about when that old lady rolls in on, on like a fucking cart or whatever she rolls
I
in
like
on?
Vincent Price, but that movie just pissed me off. That was so typical. But then that's 1959, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so they didn't have to make shitty movies back then, because Eyes Without a Face was a year later, and it's insane.
Right.
It's so good. So this was a choice.
This is even more off topic, but you just reminded me that I meant to send you a video. It was like Vincent Price in a commercial, and he was like dressed as like a turkey or something. Something absolutely ridiculous. That might not even be what he was dressed. He was in costume as an animal. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a bunny. Fuck, I gotta send that to you.
Vincent Price is something else. I like him, but I mean, I'm watching that and I'm watching the end, and I'm like, yes, this is a Vincent Price movie. I get it. Oh wait, they're not dead. It was me all along. Like,
The Scooby Doo.
it was the Scooby Doo thing. Oh, everyone's dead, and then Vincent Price comes out. It's like, actually, no, everyone's alive except this person that you thought was alive. Oh, great, thanks, Vince. Fucking jerk. Anyway, let's get back to anthologies. We're talking about Trick or Treat. Released in 2007, but was released in 2009, but was supposed to be released.
Yeah,
in
it was
2007.
delayed,
Yeah, because
which is usually not a good sign. When movies are
usually
delayed
a
like
terrible sign.
Yeah.
And it was because of the Saw. Saw had that stranglehold on like October releases.
Yeah.
For Halloween, and I'm not rightfully so. Saw was a cool movie to put out every Halloween.
Yeah,
I was okay with that.
I was okay with it too. And sorry to go back off topic, but Vincent Price was dressed as a polar bear selling wine coolers.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Makes sense. And then he wasn't but I'm not actually a polar
I'm not really a polar bear, and he pulls.
Actually, I'm not even Vincent Price. I'm Walt Disney. So
He does kind of look like
he does. So it was supposed to be released in 2007, but they were afraid that Saw would. So then they just delayed it for 2 years.
Wait, is that the real reason?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they thought Saw was going to just destroy, and it did.
Right.
And they thought Saw would destroy, and it did, and they were glad, but they probably weren't glad because then they released it straight to video in 2009.
Yeah, and you know what? I remember in 2007, I think I was at that time I was really into like reading Joe Blow and Arrow in the Head, the websites for my movie news. And I remember Arrow in the Head talking about it, and it kept getting pushed back and pushed back. So I was hyped when it finally got its release.
I could imagine. I knew nothing about it at the time. I remember when it came out, though. I checked Bloody Disgusting. I wasn't hardcore, but I checked every once in a while. So I knew it'd come out. $12 million budget for this.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And I mean, it shows. It's very well made.
It was really well done, yeah.
However, it only made $5 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it
needed a theater release.
Yeah, it didn't go to theaters.
It seriously needed a theater release. And by the way, guys, you youngins out there, VOD was not successful during 2007 through 2009.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was still under the mindset that if it was released to video, it was a piece of trash.
It was
it was a
garbage.
giant piece of trash
Right.
that only an idiot would buy. But hey, it would have killed now. It would have probably done what It Follows did, and all of a sudden have
its
theaters.
release. Yeah.
So that's the story of that. And thankfully they're still making a sequel. Did you check out the Rotten Tomatoes score?
Of the sequel?
No, of this.
Oh, this one I did not this week.
Okay. Can you take a guess?
I'm going to say 80%.
It was 85% from critics, 71% from users.
Okay.
Pretty high.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It's good
Especially
for horror.
critics.
Yeah. A horror anthology?
And they
That's
still
good.
didn't release it.
I know.
It's so crazy. That's bananas.
You know what's crazy though is you told me that just now they had a $12 million budget and they still greenlit a sequel after only making $5 million back.
I think everyone knew how good it was, and
yeah,
it was like a weird. I think it was just a weird business thing. I'm sure somebody got fired for it. You lose, $8 million, $7 million,
$7 million.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's a lot of money.
Somebody would kill me if I did that at my job. Like, I'd literally not be alive. So let's get into this. We start out in Warren Valley, Ohio. Probably the coolest town ever, based on what they do for Halloween. They have a fucking parade.
God.
The colors are great. Everyone's into Halloween.
If I was a kid there, it would be the greatest place ever.
I want to live in this town so bad.
Do you? After
Well, no. But good news. Sam travels from town to town.
Oh, okay.
Good news, right?
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Also not, by the way, guys, don't look for that in the movie. This is all somehow online, but no information in the movie. So I don't know where they got this information from. But we start out like a typical anthology here. We have our opening kind of narrative to set the tone, but a lot different than the creep show narrative where it's your beginning and end.
Right.
It's a little different. This is just kind of setting the tone for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
You have this young couple coming back from a party. The young lady blows out her jack-o'-lantern and she gets home. And then hell breaks loose. Yeah. She's trying to take down all the decorations. She has to have them down Halloween night.
That's nuts.
It's crazy.
Do you know? Okay, so I live in a busy neighborhood.
Yeah.
Do you know how fucking tired I am by the end of Halloween night?
Why would you even just do that?
Yeah, so many people.
And they were drunk.
Yeah. Such a terrible thing to do.
So crazy. It could wait. And she's like,
I wait months.
She's like, my mom's going to be here in the morning. It's the day after Halloween. I think it's okay to have some decorations out.
I mean, my neighbors must hate me. If I lived in that town, my neighbors would fucking hate me because I leave them up forever.
Yeah. And speaking of like weird things that they don't really explain in the movie, but I read about online, I was telling you and you said you had no idea. So I didn't know this either and it blew my mind. And I wish they emphasized it in the movie. She's killed clearly by Sam because it's the bitten lollipop that slices her up.
The sharpest lollipop
known to man. And then, so I hope in Krampus it's like a sharpened candy cane. Because those things are fucking sharp as hell.
They are sharp. Yeah. Stab the shit out of your tongue.
And for those of you who don't know, the guy that made this is making a movie called Krampus.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Krampus coming out this year.
I was wondering why you bring up Krampus.
Yeah, he's doing that Krampus movie. So hopefully they do something like that. But, so, the reason this woman dies is because she broke one of the Halloween traditions. You can't blow out your jack-o'-lantern until after midnight. Sam only kills people that break Halloween traditions.
See, I did not know this.
Neither did I until I read it online.
I thought he just
That's a cool emphasis, though.
It is.
And I'll get on the other ones that he did. But, the traditions are blowing out your candle before midnight, not handing out candy, and not wearing a costume. If you don't do those, Sam will kill you. And he goes from town to town doing it.
Now, where do they make these traditions up, or are these legit, like, folklore?
The blowing out the jack-o'-lantern before midnight is folklore.
Is folklore?
Yes.
Okay.
The dressing up, I think, it's just Sam's pet peeve. Same with handing out candy.
Don't be lazy.
Same with handing out
Well,
candy.
to be fair, not handing out candy.
That's just courtesy.
You're an asshole.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You are. Sorry for all those that don't.
Don't celebrate.
I hope he's lenient to people in like apartment complexes.
Well, yeah.
I hope.
I don't think Sam's very lenient.
We see this great kill at the beginning, and it really sets the mood. He butchers this woman with a broken lollipop and sticks her head on like a scarecrow thing and lined up with lights.
It's phenomenal.
It's such a great, and then we jump into this great comic book art style thing, and it's just a phenomenal way to set this movie off. Really sets the tone for this.
Yeah, and right away, it's like just the feel to it is like that classic feel, like we're going to be talking about Creep Show, but it's like an homage to all my favorite anthologies.
Yeah.
And,
And
so
you
well
actually
done.
see all of the stories involved in this opening sequence in one film or another.
Yeah, at the end when you realize it, you're just like, holy shit.
Yeah,
this is
it's
so well
really
done.
cool. So then we jump into our first two stories. You have this one story called Surprise Party, starring Anna Paquin. And that kind of travels throughout the most of the stories besides the final one. It's kind of broken up. But we start out with Anna Paquin and a group of gals trying on their sexy Halloween costumes. And Anna's just not having any of it.
No.
They're kind of playing up this virgin thing.
I was just going to say, she's the typical...
She's the virgin. She's
virgin
never
heroine,
been bad. She's very good. And these girls are trying to get her to come to this party.
So I'm thinking, like, she's fucked. She's done.
Oh, yeah, me
she's
too.
Done.
Me too. Absolutely, 100%. I figured she's toast.
Yeah.
And then we jump into The Principal, the second story. I think it's my favorite story.
The Principal,
it is crazy, and it just pops off.
It's very hard for me to choose one, but The Principal is definitely top level.
Yeah. So The Principal is do you know that actor's name?
Dylan Baker.
Dylan Baker. Name you probably don't know, but if you see him, you're like, that fucking guy.
Who, when me and Sean first started doing podcasts, we had a different one, and we covered an episode of Doug, and I think I mentioned this on this one, but this guy would have been the perfect live-action Principal from Doug.
Oh, my God.
Lamar Bone.
You know what? I think I agreed with you, and I had no idea who you were talking about. That he is perfect.
Wouldn't he nail that role?
He is perfect. Yeah. Oh, my God. I got to lobby that shit. That's great. So we see Thurman Merman from Bad Santa. He goes to the principal's. We don't know it's the principal's house. He comes up to this house, and he's digging into the candy, and
because he has the bowl. He's one of those guys that leaves the bowl outside.
Yeah. Well, which, by the way,
maniac move. If you're gonna get mad at people taking a bunch,
yeah,
I go to my door and I still have people like unloading it and like knocking my bowl out of my hands.
I know. Especially there's some little kids that you're like. You have no regulator, no governor.
I'm that guy that cuts them off. Actually, like after a while, I'm like,
I would too. I would too.
Take like
I absolutely would. Just stop it.
Like my first year that I owned my house, I was like all for it. I was like, oh man, this is great. Kids are happy.
Yeah.
And then I realized I spent like $100 on candy, and it's going to like 3 kids because we're shoveling them in. So finally, I was like, I gotta cut you off.
Yeah. So this kid is just getting right into it. Principal comes home. He sits Thurman Merman down, and he's telling him, I don't even know what he's saying. He's just rambling, kind of. But the overall thing was, he says, there's a rule to Halloween. You have to check your candy.
Yeah.
Thurman Merman proceeds to throw up the most amount of throw up I've ever seen in my life. All over the steps. It was crazy. And I thought it was a razor blade at first.
I did too. That's weird that you said that.
Yeah. And because the colors were kind of off, so I didn't know if it was blood or if it was like green, but it turns out it's just.
But I think I thought that because he tells him you have to check your candy.
Right.
So you would notice a razor blade, but you're not going to notice it's poison.
Yeah, which we find out is what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's made these crazy poison concoctions. How would you ever check your candy?
You would not.
You fucking jerk.
You need a pH kit.
I feel like that's against the rules. That's against the rules. You can't do that. Right. If you're going to play that game, like, I'm going to teach them a lesson about Halloween. Come on, man. You got to play by the rules a little bit.
You're right.
But we see Thurman Merman go down immediately.
Can I just be clear to the listeners that his name is not Thurman Merman in this movie? But it's a great name to call him. So. That's his name from Bad Santa.
It's all I'll call him. Yeah, so this principal, so he drags Thurman into the house. Did you notice the pumpkins on his? First of all, he's cutting a pumpkin while he's talking to Thurman Merman before he dies. It's the ugliest pumpkin I've ever seen. The eyes are all close together, and he mentions it. He's like, "Oh, I messed this one up." As he's dragging him in, he's got like stickers, like pumpkin stickers that he's made on the windows of his front door. You didn't notice them?
I did not.
They are the most maniac pumpkins I've ever seen. They are cut out eyes and mouths from like magazines of like models.
Yeah.
Taped onto pumpkins.
Now that you say it, I don't think I noticed.
His front door. Yeah. It is the scariest fucking. This guy is such a deranged. Oh, holy shit! Dude, I just had a revelation about this. Okay, so let's finish this and we'll get back to these pumpkins because I just realized what it represents.
Okay.
All right. So he drags Thurman Merman in. He's already got an empty grave in his fucking backyard for the kid.
Yeah.
And another kid is in there.
Yeah.
There's another fucking body in there. This guy is a psychopath.
Yep.
Straight up psycho. Drags Thurman's ass out into the open grave.
How good is it that he's a principal of a school?
That's the most fucked up. Well, no, it's not the most fucked up part. The most fucked up part, that adds to it. The most fucked up part is his son is home.
Yeah.
His son comes to the window as he's digging a grave and is like, Daddy, I'm home from trick-or-treating. And you're like, oh, Jesus. 2 dead kids. You got a kid upstairs. He says, Billy, go inside and watch Charlie Brown. And his son screams, Charlie Brown is an asshole. It's like my second favorite line in horror history. The first being the speech in Devil's Rejects about Elvis Presley.
2 solid choices.
I respect both of those opinions so strongly that they're my 2 favorite lines. They are perfect. They are perfect. I hate Charlie Brown.
Depressed asshole.
Completely depressed. Buzz Breadsticks would be furious at this conversation, so I hope he listens. But fuck Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown is a complete asshole. That kid is 100% right.
Yeah. Could not agree more.
Yeah. So as he's digging this grave, the principal comes out. His dog is making a ruckus because the dog can hear him burying bodies. And this might be one of the most disturbing things in this movie. So the neighbor's like, what are you doing out there? At the same time, one of the dead kids is like,
squirming.
Like trying to talk and like trying to grab the principal. And the principal is beating the shit out of this kid. Kicking it like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was hard to watch.
And it's a fucking kid.
It's a child.
Yeah.
It is a child. And he's like dressed up as a clown, which is like the most innocent child costume ever. Like, I don't want to be anything scary. I'll just be a clown this year.
Right.
I'd rather just, oh my God. It was so brutal. And then he stabs him with the fucking shovel. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So the neighbor goes in. We'll talk about him later. Even as I was watching this the first time, I was like, I know these characters are going to come back. Like,
right.
You could just tell. Like, it just made no sense. He comes back inside. His son is like, we need to do the pumpkin. I need you to help me with the eyes. I need you to help me with the eyes, Dad. So he finally gets inside. He brings them downstairs. By the way, the whole time I thought the kid was saying ice, I-C-E. And I was like, who uses ice with pumpkins? And I realized he was saying eyes. The eyes with pumpkin. As he's coming in, though, we see our first glimpse of another story because you see the neighbor banging on the window.
Played by Brian Cox.
Yeah.
Super Troopers.
Yeah, so good. And you see him get taken out by something. You don't know what. And that comes back later.
And then the best part is the principal sees him.
Yeah.
And is not concerned at all.
No. He's like, what the fuck's this jerk doing?
Fuck it.
Yeah. This guy, yeah. And then, so he comes inside. His son helped me with the eyes. He says, all right, let's go to the basement. They're really amping up that he's going to kill his son. In my opinion.
You thought so? I did not have that
kill
feel.
his kid. He's holding a knife over his son's head.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I don't know why I didn't have that feeling.
Is that what your dad did on Halloween?
that was a typical Tuesday.
Yeah. Holding a knife over your head. But you see him stab the knife down and he pulls it up and it looks like blood. But then you see the kid's okay, and you're like, "Oh, it must be."
Now that you're saying that, I have no clue why I didn't get.
I don't know either because it was clearly meant to do that. The director would be like, "Come on,
the most,
really didn't get that?"
obvious thing in the
He'd
movie.
be like offended. No, he'd be more upset probably that he did not portray it well enough. He'd be like, "Really, I didn't do it that well." Like, wow. But his son's there, pans out. And it's fucking Thurman Merman's head.
Thurman Merman.
And the boy just goes, you need to help me with the eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, most fucked. That was the most brutal story in the show for me, or in the movie for me. But now I'm thinking about it. What I kind of had a realization was the cutout eyes on the pumpkin, human eyes on the pumpkin, Thurman Merman's eyes. That's their thing.
That's what they do. A little father and son bonding.
Awful. That kid looked like Chucky too. I think that was intentional. He had a striped shirt and overalls.
Yeah, I guess.
or it was just a fall outfit for a little kid. Either way. So that was like my favorite story.
Do they still make Oshkosh Bagosh?
I honestly don't know. I think so, and I think it's super overpriced. I think me and my wife looked. Because like you just like obliged to buy your kid one Oshkosh.
You have to.
You have to. And I think we looked and they were like $60.
Well, yeah,
I know.
that.
No. You go to the Goodwill and pick one up. So from there, we kind of get glimpses of the surprise party during this. Anna Paquin is still nervous about this party. They link up with a news crew.
Yeah.
So weird, but the other girls are like, we're gonna go with the news crew to this party. You can meet us there.
Dude, there's like nothing I'd want to do less in my life than bring a news crew to party with, like to
So weird.
film all my debauchery.
So weird. But then we get thrown into our second story, the school bus massacre.
Which I think
You wanna
is
talk about that?
actually my favorite
Yeah,
one.
why don't you talk
And
about that?
I
Because
think
I was not my favorite.
really.
Yeah, I really didn't. For whatever reason, I just don't like it as much as the other stories.
Well, it has five kids, I believe, who go to a rock. What do you call it? A rock quarry.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, five kids.
Yeah, a rock quarry. And there's an urban legend that takes place there about the Halloween school bus massacre.
Yep.
And 30 years ago, I believe it was.
Yep.
There was a group of mentally retarded kids whose parents were embarrassed by their conditions, and they're like a burden to them.
Which is so crazy. They talk about this. They emphasize that all the parents got together and decided they were going to kill their kids.
Yeah, and they paid the bus driver to kill their kids.
Yeah.
And that's like the gist of it. And he drove the bus off the rock quarry.
He was going to, he was going to get off. He was going to get out of the bus.
He was going to get out of the bus and let them drive off, but he did not.
He did not.
He goes with them. And this is so, oh man, this is so terrible for me to say, but I think it might be my favorite one because with the principle, it's so taboo to like kill a child. But then what's more taboo than killing a bunch of mentally retarded children?
That's a really good point. And honestly, I was thinking about this earlier. All the kids on the bus, because we're seeing a flashback. One of the girls basically it's 5 kids currently, and they go out to this thing for Halloween
Because of the legend.
Yeah, it's actually 4 kids, and then they meet. And I'm using air quotes here, so please don't think I made up this term. Rhonda the retard is what they call her. And she's an idiot savant because she can carve a lot of pumpkins very well. So they meet up with her. She's the 5th, and they decide to take her on this trip to the quarry where one of the girls tells this story.
Dude, now that we're talking about this one, I'm actually more depressed than I am anything.
Well, yeah, and now here's my point. Here's what the point I was going to say was, so while she's telling the story, it's a flashback showing what happened.
What happened, yeah. Oh, and they're chained.
They're chained to the fucking bus.
The kids that die 30 years ago, they're chained to the bus.
Yeah.
And they're mentally retarded, and they're kids.
Yeah. And so on the bus, they're all wearing their Halloween masks. And I honestly think that was to spare us the horrifying agony of seeing their faces being upset.
Yeah.
And scared.
Right.
Because imagine that.
It's just fucking brutal.
Because imagine that.
Right.
Awful. That's like the worst thing ever. But one of the handicapped kids manages to escape and then drives the bus off the cliff.
He changes the gear, right?
Yeah.
He puts it
right
in drive instead of reverse, or vice versa.
He drives. Yeah.
Drive.
And he drives it off the cliff with the bus driver in it. So the bus driver, the legend is, who knows what happened to the bus driver? He never got out.
He did not?
Well, he did.
Oh, okay. You're saying the legend.
Is like, what happened to him? Because he was never heard from again after that. So yeah, so that's where we were in there. And then what happens? So they tell this story.
They tell a story, and then they...
So crazy.
As if it's not bad enough that they killed mentally retarded children. They have Rhonda the retard, and they're just playing pranks on her. They're just scaring the shit out of her. She's there, and they're all pretending to be undead children.
Yeah, they plan this very elaborate prank, by the way, where as Rhonda's coming down to where they were in the quarry using this elevator.
I would never get on the elevator.
No. And so the 3 of them go down first.
Are there elevators on rock quarries? Is that a common thing?
I would imagine. I don't know. I've never been to a rock quarry, so hard to say. Hard to say. And you know what? I honestly don't think I'll ever be. So let's put it that way. So they scare the living shit out of Rhonda. She falls
and knocks herself out.
Poor girl. I'm just thinking. So, okay, so here's the other thing. When I first saw this, I thought Rhonda's dressed up as a witch for Halloween. I thought she was going to be a fucking witch.
An actual witch.
And I thought she was going to start
throwing hexes out, summoning the dead,
fucking these people up. That doesn't happen. However, I saw that when I first I thought that when I first watched it, and then this time around, I forgot this story, and I was like, "Oh yeah, she's the witch that throws hexes out at people."
But it was just a memory that you had,
just a memory I made up.
That you made up.
Yeah, and I kind of wish they did do it that way. I would have loved that.
That would have been. She
because she's like an idiot savant. Like I was like, she's fucking witch. Like she's a real witch. But whatever.
Shooting orbs out.
What do I know? I know nothing. I didn't make the movie. So the kids dress up as undead children and scare the shit out of her.
So mean.
Yeah, awful.
And one of the girls kicks a jack-o'-lantern into the water where the original children died. Mm-hmm. And is that the cause of the kids coming back?
It was hard for me to figure out.
Like there had to be some significance to that.
Because right. Like, I mean, Sam doesn't commit the crime, so I don't know. That's why I thought I wish they emphasized it more. Because you could have put that in every story easily. And maybe it is, and I just don't know. The surprise party I'd have trouble figuring out.
Yeah.
And the principal I'd have trouble figuring out. I mean, I guess he was killing kids. It's crime enough. Hopefully Sam looks down upon killing children.
Yeah.
I mean, he's worried about candy. I'd hope he's worried about children.
Yeah, right.
So she knocks out the pumpkin.
Yeah, the pumpkin goes into the water, and then the school bus children come out of the water.
The real
start to
ones.
rise. The real ones. Yes.
And they are pretty fucking scary.
And I think this is why this one's my favorite, because I'm a sucker. Like I know you're not big on the fog, but it kind of reminded me of the fog, like when the ghosts started to rise.
Yep.
And like I'm just a sucker for that.
Yeah.
So I loved when they started to come out. And
that's this one too. Yeah, maybe I do have a thing against. In Creepshow, we'll talk about this more, but I don't. Wow, that's so weird. I just don't like things. I don't like horror where things are coming out of water. It just doesn't do it for me. Ghosts are coming out of the water. I don't know what it is. That's weird.
And apparently I do have a thing for ghosts.
You love it, yeah. Seaweed covered undead. Sure.
So the kids start to come out of the water, and they start to chase the group of the kids that were tormenting. What's her name? Rhonda. Yes.
The kids are running for their lives.
Rightfully so.
Oh yeah, big time. They catch one of the girls with fucking chains.
Yeah,
and
the chains, dude.
Oh yeah,
this is why I love it.
Yeah, it's good. It was good. I honestly, even though I'm saying I don't like it, it was so good. It was my least favorite of all of them, but I loved it. It was still so good. Especially
Ghosts with Chains. I don't know why.
So good, especially the end. So the kids are running for their lives. They're running to the elevator. It's locked. Who's inside?
Fucking Rhonda.
Dude, nothing gets me more than sweet revenge.
Yes.
Especially with the innocence and like...
Yeah, someone getting picked on for no reason.
For no fucking reason at all.
Yeah.
And Rhonda has the keys. She's locked herself inside the elevator. They're banging, pleading for her. She picks up the keys, looks like she's going to go unlock it for him, hits the up button.
Yep.
See you fucking later.
And the best part about it is you hear these, like, these kids are meeting the most horrible death ever.
Yeah, it's really bad. I love that we're like, kid death is the worst. And then in this one, we're like, fuck yes, eat those kids. Eat those children.
That is a very valid point.
Yeah. I mean, they were bullying. That's terrible. But
they're still kids.
They're still children, and they weren't doing anything that deserved to be eaten alive by monsters.
By undead, mentally retarded children.
Oh my gosh.
This one, I mean, it's just so fucked up that I just loved it.
Yeah, and Rhonda just walks away. She sees Sam, and she just walks away. I really wanted her and Sam to like walk away together, and I was like, fuck yeah. But that's not the case.
Yeah.
They kind of just go their own ways. But I was very proud of Rhonda.
I was too.
I was very pumped with that.
Yeah. But honestly, I think that one's probably my favorite. And now that we talked about it, I feel really bad for saying it because it's so terrible, but I think it's my favorite.
It's great. There's no reason to think it's terrible. I mean, that's what these movies are for, right? That's just the way it is. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. I think the second half's going to be a little longer, but I don't know how to split this one up. So we're splitting it up right now. We're going to hear the end of the surprise party, the final story, and we're going to talk about anthologies a little bit, especially this one. We're going to talk about some of the details about this one a little bit more. So stick around. We'll be right back.
They tampered with nature. Now they must pay the price. See the grotesque invade an unsuspecting village. See a hospital panic when day-old babies go berserk. See friends turn on each other in a nightmare of horror. You'll cringe with terror when you see. Don't open the window. Whatever's out there will wait. Rated R.
All right, guys, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you liked the Critters song last week for our. That's what I did. I forget what is it? How does that song go? Power of the night. Wait, something called.
What's that guy's name? Johnny.
I don't know, but I found him on Twitter.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You know he's like a stage actor.
He's a stage actor, and like I wanted to like. I didn't want to pick on him, but like, you know, I mean, if we're going to talk about Critters, it's kind of picking on him no matter what, right, because it's ridiculous. But he like does like charitable education work. Like he teaches music to like underprivileged kids. So it's like, hey man, how was Power of the Night? Derp. I mean, I'm not doing anything stupid. I just I want somebody to respond to me about some of these horror movies. I also tweeted the kid from Critters.
He did not respond?
He did not respond either.
Why am I not seeing these?
He is like, he was in Band of Brothers. He's in like a bunch of stuff. He's like an accomplished actor.
Well,
he's no, I mean, you have to look at his resume afterwards. Band of Brothers. Yeah. Band of Brothers. Band of Brothers. No, I respect him. But I asked him if he got, I asked him if he took anything from the Critter set that he still has. And if he was on set during the scene with the naked woman. Because as a kid, I would have been on set. I've been like, God. I need to be here. I need to see this.
Then take like 5 bathroom breaks after.
Can I have the dailies off of this? I just need to make sure she's pulling her weight. I don't think he had that much pull on set. We were like, we will find another redhead.
We'll get you a can of Jergens and a bottle of, what do you call it? A bottle. What do you call things like that? Is it a bottle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it is. It is absolutely a bottle. Always has and always will be.
Shit.
All right, guys. So thanks for sticking around. We're diving right back into Trick or Treat. So we're diving right back into Trick or Treat. We've seen the principal's story. We've seen the school bus massacre. We are about to see the unraveling of this surprise party storyline that's kind of been weaving in and out of these other stories. Kind of, I read online, they kind of used it to pace so you knew the chronology of the show. It was kind of, I keep calling it a show, the chronology of this movie. You can kind of base who's where based on the surprise party storyline.
Right.
Because you're seeing everyone else in the background of these. So we had Anna Paquin, young virgin girl, getting led into the party with her 3 friends. What
does she dress like?
Little Red Riding Hood.
Yes.
Sexy Little Red Riding Hood.
Which I think is an important detail.
Very important. Her friends go off into the woods. They meet a crew of male cameramen who they've decided to go with. Whatever. Sure. Yeah, sure is the exact response to that. Why not? Why the fuck not? Literally could have been anything. Why cameramen? Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find out in the sequel. So Anna is now walking around the parade because she's not into the whole party thing. Not in the whole party thing.
She's a virgin.
Yeah. We also see this creature, this vampire. He kills a girl in an alley. Not Anna Paquin. This was earlier. He just randomly kills this girl in an alley.
Yeah.
Bites her and leaves her for dead. And everyone at the parade is like, she's just drunk. Okay.
Which, honestly...
She was crying for help.
Sure.
She's just hammered.
Yeah, but you have that mom mentality. Like, I don't think it's that far-fetched.
Yeah, maybe.
You got a Halloween party with, like, college-age kids?
Well, they were drunk, too. Okay, so I'll give them a
drunk.
pass.
I mean, where we're from, we have this college called UConn. Well, I'm sure many people have heard of UConn.
We have this tiny college up here called UConn.
So at UConn, they used to have this thing called Spring Weekend, and you'd have to walk. It was literally. This is so off topic, but it was like the place to go was called Spring Weekend, and you literally stand in a parking lot for fucking hours. It's really stupid looking back on it. But I remember walking through the trail to get there, and there's always like one guy, literally a guy, like screaming and crying for help. He's like, "Oh my God, they killed her! They killed her!" And like everyone's just like walking by, and like once in a while, someone would be like, "Who?" You're like, "They did!" And like no one knows what he's talking about, and like. After you see that like a couple times, you're like, well, this guy's just fucking out of his mind.
Yeah.
Nobody killed anyone. So I don't think it's that
Okay.
far-fetched. That was way off topic. I just wanted to show
it makes sense, though. It's a good way to think about things, because I would have been like, lead me to her. I will help. And then he would have led me to like a garbage bin with nothing.
I mean, that was
And
the
passed
thing.
out.
This guy was like, the guy from UConn was crying, and there was nothing wrong. Just had a bad batch or something.
Yeah, for sure. So this vampire is lurking around the parade. Him and Anna Paquin lock eyes.
Yes.
Anna's kind of scared, but she's kind of weirded out, so she decides to go to this party finally. She's walking through the woods, and who has followed her? The vampire.
The vamp. The dirty vamp.
The vamp. We think Anna's in trouble at this point.
Certainly.
She's
the virgin.
She's in grave danger. Yeah, for sure. Virgin blood.
She's done.
Virgin blood's the best. We cut to the party where there's a giant baby. Giant man dressed as a baby. Everyone's drunk as hell, except the girls who are trying to get a hold of Anna, but they can't. All of a sudden, out of the trees, boom. Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah.
Kate. They open it up. Who do they see?
The vampire.
The fucking vampire. Mangled. Absolutely mangled.
Yes.
Absolutely mangled.
But who is the vampire?
They take off the mask. The principal.
It's the
blew my mind.
But he's not really a vampire.
No,
He
they
has
take out
fake
his
fangs.
fangs.
How did he kill that girl?
Super sharp dental. I think they added that part because the girl that one of the girls, I think Anna Paquin's sister, pulls him out. And she's like, oh, nice. Like saying like good quality.
Oh, okay.
So I think they added that to be like, oh, he did not kill her with those like plastic fangs that you get on Halloween.
These are legit vampires.
Yeah. So Anna Paquin shows up. Do you want to talk about the rest of that? So Anna Paquin walks in because now we know something's up.
And basically they start to transform.
Yeah. Fucking crazy. While Marilyn Manson is blasting.
Yes. Because, I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah.
They start transforming into werewolves.
Yeah.
Which is why she's wearing the little red... I can't talk. Which is why she's wearing the Little Red Riding Hood shirt.
Yep.
It's just fantastic.
So awesome.
How did you like the transformation scene?
Loved it.
Me too.
Ripped the skin right off. They were peeling it off like a fucking mask. Like we said we liked in Wolf Cop.
You're right. Yeah. And the noises that they're making, and like just the whole scene, the whole atmosphere of that scene, I was like, this is fucking awesome.
Yep. And turns out Anna Paquin's virgin is killing, I guess, transforming and killing her first man.
Yeah. She's not really a virgin. She's a virgin in that sense.
Yeah.
She hasn't done the whole vampire thing.
It's like not
vampire. The whole werewolf thing.
And we turn out these girls, the whole time they had been alluding to it, but you don't realize it. Like they said fresh meat. And you think they're talking about banging guys, and like they go town to town doing this. And
but they're really cool. Talking about killing.
Really talking about killing. Really cool story.
And then they eat the shit out of all the dates that they brought. And the principal.
They're all lined up around the fucking fire. It was crazy.
Awesome.
And we probably didn't even do it justice, but it was so hard because it was so disjointed throughout the movie. It was really hard to work it in. So if it sounds stupid, it's not. Please watch it. It's so good. Now we're on to our last story.
Yeah.
Sam. The story of Sam. you know a good movie. So we do this show. We take notes on these movies and we talk about them. I don't know how to explain that to you. You probably know that if you're listening to this, even because for the last 30 minutes you've been listening to us do that. You think you get the gist of it. That's so stupid. So, for me, these movies, whenever we do a bad movie, I've got pages of notes because I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Right.
It's so ridiculous. When you have no notes, it's such a good movie.
Because it's all right there.
Because it's so plain, it's so simple, it's to the point, and it's perfect.
Yeah, and you're passionate about it.
This Sam story, I've got nothing because it was perfect. It was your perfect Halloween tale, right? So...
It starts with the neighbor who you saw in The Principal. One of the very first parts. Krieg is his name. Played by Brian Cox.
He's just an old curmudgeon.
He is an old curmudgeon. He lives with his dog alone, and he hates Halloween.
Hates it. Doesn't hand out candy.
And that scares away trick-or-treaters.
Yep. And that's where Sam comes in on this one. And I don't know how to explain this one because it's so cut and dry. He starts hearing Sam running around. He starts hearing footsteps, voices. He's chasing them all around. We see him go out and see the principal again. So we're back to that story.
Yeah.
He goes out because he thinks he hears Sam in the back. The dog runs out and he looks out and he sees the principal. And we're back to that story. That's when he looks through the fence and asks him what he's doing. It's so weird how this is.
It ties together so well.
Yeah. He comes back inside. He's still hearing stuff going on. He goes upstairs. A fucking jack-o'-lantern lights on fire in the back of the room.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit. I love that scene.
Yeah.
I thought that scene was awesome.
Me too.
So good. And then you also see written all over his walls, trick or treat. Say, smell my feet?
I just remember
it says, give me something good to eat too.
Just remember the trick or treat.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
All over.
Everywhere.
So creepy.
And by the way, I didn't realize I had a fear of this until I thought about it, but I live in my house alone right now. And if I heard little kid footsteps scurrying from anywhere, I would leave and I would just leave everything behind and just move to a different place.
I've said this plenty of times in some other movies that we've talked about. I would be so scared I would consider killing myself. Because I'd just be like, I'm not getting out of this alive. I've seen enough horror movies to know I'm dead. I'm fucking dead.
Which is funny because you should be, if you hear little feet scurrying around, you should be able to overpower it. And for some reason, that's way more terrifying than hearing someone trying to break into my house.
Absolutely more terrifying. 100% more terrifying.
I don't know why.
I'm buying my first house. We're moving in next month. And I'm kind of dreading it. I've always lived in a place where I've taken solace in knowing a neighbor could hear me if I'm in distress. And now I'll be in a home by myself.
Dude, when you move into your own home, you hear the first 5 nights.
I'm sure.
You hear every single noise.
Sure. And especially this, it's a house. It's going to have its quirks like all houses do.
I was so anxious to move out of my parents and into my house that when I bought it and I finished fixing it up, I stayed here with no bed, just a mattress that I brought over, and I had no curtains on any of my windows.
That's terrifying.
So every night I would go to bed, I would just hear creaking, and then I would be like, well, anyone could be at my window right now just staring in.
Stop. That is awful.
So don't do that.
That is awful. I won't. Yes, I will. Because that's what people do. I'll be so excited I'll sleep there with nothing and cry. So he's in his room. He sees all this writing. Gets sliced. His ankle's sliced by Sam from under the bed.
Yeah, which I kind of thought paid homage to Pet Sematary.
I agree. I really think there's a lot of homages in this. I think that's why I thought that kid was dressed as Chucky. I think there's a lot of it here. So he's trying to escape despite his ankle being slashed open. He's putting up a good fight with Sam though.
Sure.
Until he goes falling down the stairs on candy and fucking broken glass. Brutal. Home Alone style.
Yeah.
Home Alone style. So this guy is messed up, and these two just start beating the shit out of each other. I love that he can just throw Sam around though. But he removes Sam's mask.
Yeah.
To reveal his head, which is a deformed pumpkin monster, I guess. How would you describe it?
I mean, Yeah, it's kind of like Pumpkinhead.
Except Pumpkinhead was no.
Yeah. Agree to
Do you
disagree.
remember what Pumpkinhead looks like?
Dude, I think the faces is kind of similar.
Okay, we might have to pull up some images because Joe is very Okay, so anyway, so they start fighting. The Krieg shoots him with a shotgun like 4 times, right?
Yeah.
This little fucker regenerates. Loved it. I love that he regenerated.
Yeah.
It was so good. Sam is standing over him. He bites his lollipop, his pumpkin lollipop. He's ready to go in for the kill. Goes for the heart, and he hits a candy bar.
Yeah.
So he got his candy. So he leaves.
Yeah.
That's all he wanted.
All he wanted.
He just wanted the guy to hand out candy. And sure enough, the guy starts handing out candy in the end. And this is the end of the... Sam is left, key thing. Okay, so let's talk about this. So this guy's safe, right?
Yes.
But what you see in the fire is a picture of him in front of a school bus. You see the old school bus driver
He is the school
bus
driver that killed that was driving the bus with the mentally retarded children.
Yep. Crazy.
What a great tie-in.
Blew my mind. So he's learned the error of his ways. He's now handing out shitloads of candy to everyone.
I'm sorry, we're in the middle of a conversation, but tell me that doesn't look like Pumpkinhead.
Pull up a picture of Pumpkinhead. Stop looking at a picture of him. This is your problem. He pulls up a picture of Sam, which we just watched. Yes, we understand. We know what Sam looks like. Now pull up a picture of Pumpkinhead and please tell me they look the same.
Splitting image.
Not even close.
Dude, come on, look at that. Tell me that's not similar.
I suppose, Joe. I fucking suppose. What? So let's get back on track and finish this movie. We're so close to the end. He's handing out candy. He's learned the error of his ways. Doorbell rings again. What happens?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was laughing about Pumpkin.
Because you know you're wrong. Krieg's learned the error of his ways. He's handing out candy. The doorbell rings. Who's at the door? Okay. So the doorbell rings, and at the door are all the kids that died on the bus. And they've come for their sweet, sweet revenge.
Yes.
We pan out on the town.
Which again reminded me of The Fog.
Yeah. And we pan out on the town, and we see every story. We see the couple coming home. It's back at the beginning.
Back at the very beginning of the movie. Yes.
Awesome.
Agreed.
Such a great movie.
Agreed.
I fucking love this movie. It's so damn good.
It really is. I just watched this, 2 nights ago, and I would have no problem if you were like, well, let's watch it again right now when we finish recording.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Ever since it finally came out on VOD, I've watched it every October.
Yeah.
Every October.
Yep, absolutely. And I think Fear Fest is missing the boat by not playing this because they really need to be. This should be their Halloween movie. I mean, it's so good.
I really can't recommend it enough.
If I were a kid and I were sitting there, like, this is the perfect Halloween movie to get me fucking amped up or come home from Halloween and watch this.
That's a great point because, like, we're going to be talking about next week. I loved Creepshow as a kid, and this is like a bigger budget, more modernized Creepshow, and it has like every element that I loved when I watched Creepshow as a kid. So if I was a kid right now, this would be like my go-to movie.
And honestly, currently, besides the nostalgia of Creepshow, I think this is better. We'll talk about it next week.
No, I actually think I'm going to agree. I think this might be my favorite of all time.
I think it is, yeah.
And it sounds so, like we talked about at the very beginning of the episode. It sounds so blasphemous to say, but
yeah.
I really think it might be my favorite.
Me too. Yeah. I agree. So I had some talking points I wanted to talk about just based on this movie. What was your favorite story out of this?
I think it was the school bus massacre.
School bus.
Yeah.
I really like the principle,
and it ties in at the end too. Like
that's true. I mean that was the story, I guess, that really. It's so hard to say. This movie was so evenly distributed. It was perfect.
It was.
Everybody was in another story. It was crazy.
Yep.
It was so crazy. It was so good.
And that's what sets it apart from other anthologies too. Whereas other anthologies are just
correct.
Here's a story. Here's a new story. Here's a new. This was a fluent movie with just different perspectives.
Exactly. I loved it. I had a question. What story would you remove, or which one would you change?
Oh,
and
man.
I don't know if I would.
See,
You can't. It's really
since it's not like I literally just said, not clear cut stories. You can't remove one without. It would change the whole movie.
It would. You can't. You can't.
can't.
It's absolutely perfect, and again, that's what sets it apart. So let's talk about Sam though for a minute. Such a great character.
Yes, actually, can I ask you a question about Sam? I wanted to ask.
Sure.
Do you think he should have removed his mask?
Okay. Okay. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
So let's just talk about Sam. So Sam started out as a character from the director. He had a short film called Season's Greetings. It's a cute little short. It's like 3 minutes long. Nothing really happens in it. And it's a completely different Sam than what we see here. Sam is so good. Sam is so amazing. The only thing I dislike is the head. I hate that he removed his mask.
Okay. I did too. And
I'm surprised. I'm so surprised. I really thought you'd be into that.
No, I didn't hate the head. Like, I thought it was all right.
Mm-hmm.
But just having that burlap sack over his head,
It was so awesome.
it just added, like, it had a mystique to it. And I wish they kept, like, you don't know if he's a kid, if he's a demon. Like, you don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, and so I love the character. I love that he kills people for violating the rules of Halloween. I think that's amazing. I wish they emphasized that more. The Pumpkinhead, absolutely hated. Like Pumpkinhead the movie, they called him Pumpkinhead because his head was huge, like a pumpkin. Maybe kind of shaped like a pumpkin. They could have done that here. It could have been a deformed head, or they just should not have unmasked him, in my opinion.
I wish they left it on.
That being said, I played devil's advocate with myself, and I said, they pay homage to so many movies in this, I felt like. And not even just movies, just the genre in general. You had werewolves, you had
Vampires.
sick principals, you had twisted kids, you had bullies,
Ghosts.
you had ghosts, they were paying homage to everything in this. Maybe this was their homage to like the corny, childlike horror.
Yeah.
Maybe they did this. I don't want to say this is appropriate for a child, but it's appropriate for a pretty young age. There's not a lot of horrible, horrible, horrible stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe this was their way of kind of throwing that in there, and it's like kind of eases the tension for a younger audience a little bit.
Do you think it could have been, I'm going far-fetched here. It could have been an homage to Jason. Burlap sack mask, and then you take it off, and it's a really stupid-looking head.
I'd say definitely, except that the character was that short. And that,
right.
You know what I mean? But I think I wouldn't put it past them to say, yeah, we're going to unmask him to do this Jason thing, where it's just this hideous.
Because you know
little
how
face.
much you loved when Jason took his mask off.
Oh my God. We talked about that during that Jason, where we, like every Jason movie, I was like, oh my God, they unmasked him?
But he
somehow I
does
didn't
every
know.
movie,
I didn't know every movie they did that. Like I was like, which one's the one where he takes off his mask?
Fucking everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so stupid as kids. It's so crazy. We had like no attention span. Like what?
Yeah.
Maybe we just fell asleep before it happened or something. I don't know. We're so stupid. I loved him though. I think he is one of my all-time favorite characters in horror.
Wow, okay.
Sam.
Sure.
I loved him.
Yeah,
I thought
he
was
definitely
so
is great.
so great. Now on the topic of Halloween, we probably could have done this at Halloween and I think it would make a great episode for Halloween, but because it's the Halloween spirit, I'm already excited for Halloween. It's fucking April.
Yeah.
But I'm buying a house, so I'm like already thinking about it. I'm so pumped. What's your favorite Halloween traditions? I'll tell you mine while you think.
Okay.
So my favorite, so I have two. Number one though is just busting out the decorations.
Mm-hmm.
I bust them out early in our house, probably September. We bust them out in the house. We start, and we've got houses like candle houses. You put the lights on. We've got so much shit. I cannot wait for our house to do it. That's the best because you just know it's coming.
Listen, man, it's my favorite thing. I'm not lying. It's my favorite thing about being a homeowner. Like I have a busy neighborhood, and I just love setting it up. My whole neighborhood goes nuts. Like I have
That's
my
awesome.
neighbors make up haunted houses. They have haunted mazes. They
good.
chase kids with chainsaws. You hear screaming all night long. It's like the whole
That's
feel.
great.
They play spooky music out of their windows.
That's what it's about, man.
It's all about the decoration. And I also start early, like October 1st, everything's up.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
the whole
yeah,
month.
yeah.
It's a month-long celebration. And I have this fucking witch that hangs on my door that cackles every time you go near it. It's like motion sensor.
Yeah.
And god damn it, do I fucking hate that thing by the end of Halloween.
Yeah. I'm pumped. I probably start mid-August, not decorating, but I'm like, I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking ahead. My second favorite tradition, which isn't really a tradition yet, growing up, my parents didn't do candy. They did cotton candy. They would rent a machine and they would make cotton candy for the kids and bag it and hand it out to all the kids in our neighborhood. And we are going to bring it back this year. And I'm so fucking pumped to do that, to do something different.
Nice. I like it.
And the only thing, though, is like everyone's such a weird psycho these days. Like parents are such maniacs. They might not like it. So we're going to have to like make up cards that like, hi, my name is Sean. Got to edit out my name. Hi, my name is Sean. And here's my number and here's our address. And I promise we are not murdering your child with this cotton candy.
Yeah, dude, that might make it worse.
I know. I probably get calls that are like, why are you doing this?
You know what I read? That there's never been a documented case in America of anyone tampering with candy.
I know.
It's like this is ridiculous.
crazy.
Obviously you should probably check.
Yeah.
but there's never been a documented case.
Yeah. It's crazy. So what are your favorite traditions? Did you think of anything, or is it just
Setting up the decorations for sure. And honestly, I love going and picking, like, just going. The whole fall season is my favorite, and going to the farms and getting my pumpkins to carve and all that shit.
It's gonna be it's such a blast, and this movie just adds to it. Just got me in the mood. I'm like already pumped. It just made me so excited for it. Good and the bad of this movie. Anything bad?
Dude, I can't think of a single thing bad. The only thing I would say is I wish Sam kept his mask on, but it's not that big of a deal to me.
That is literally what I have as my bad. Everything was good in this movie. I loved it.
Agreed.
So that's the end of the episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Before we go, though, we want to know, because we have some time before our third episode where we kind of talk about all anthologies and our top favorite. We want to know what your favorite anthology is. Send us an email, Sean@IHateHorror.com. Find us on Twitter. We'll riddle those off as usual at the end. Tumblr, Facebook, whatever it is. What is your favorite anthology? What is your favorite story? What is your favorite character from these anthologies? We can't be the only ones that love anthologies. No. They're so great. So we're pumped. We're super excited. Send us those. We'll be reading them on the air again during that episode. That'll be a really awesome episode, I think.
Yeah.
Send those in, and that's going to be fun. So send those in. Can't wait to read them. You guys were great on the Valentine's Day. I'm sure this is going to be equally as fun.
Love hearing from you.
Yeah. As always, we'd like to thank Harley Poe for allowing us to use the song Gorehound off Pagan Holiday. You can find them at harleypoe.com or facebook.com/harleypoe. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at I Hate Horror Show.
At Jovi421.
We're on Tumblr at ihatehorror.tumblr.com, ihatehorror.com, and facebook.com/ihatehorror. Guys, we can't thank you enough for downloading the show. That's like the most important thing. Like, seriously, I can't believe how many of you are downloading and listening to us. It means so much to us. If you can, though, please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher. We want to be the best. Actually, we are the best. But we want to come up on the search engine as such. So, anyway, guys, thank you so much. Anything else before we head out?
No, thank you.
That's it, guys. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next week. I always say we see you next week, and it's so stupid. We'll talk to you again next week, guys.
Thank you.
Adios.